Hello everyone, Andy here. Languages are more than just words. They are entire ways of seeing the world. But what happens when a world goes silent? Today, on I Love Languages, we're traveling through alphabet to explore 26 extinct languages. Some built empires, some are mysteries, and some were spoken by just one last person before they vanished. Let's begin the journey. A is for Akkadian. Think ancient Mesopotamia. Babylonians and Assyrians were using this language everywhere. It was the go-to for diplomacy, written on clay tablets in cuneiform. Over time, people started speaking Aramaic instead, and by the 1st century CE, Akkadian disappeared from daily life, surviving only in scholarly texts. B is for Bactrian. Up in Central Asia, in modern-day Afghanistan, the Kushan Empire spoke Bactrian. It's an Iranian language, but they wrote it using the Greek alphabet, thanks to Alexander the Great. Eventually, Persian and Turkic languages replaced it around 1,000 years ago. C is for Celt-Iberian. Before the Romans took over Spain, the Celts there spoke Celt-Iberian. We know about it from some old inscriptions in north-central Spain, but as Latin spread with Roman rule, Celt-Iberian slowly vanished. D is for Dacian. In what's now Romania and Moldova, people spoke Dacian. Unfortunately, almost nothing survives in writing. After the Romans conquered the Dacian kingdom in 106 CE, the language faded, likely blending into Latin and later evolving into Romanian, or disappearing under other migrating tribes. E is for Etruscan. Before Rome dominated central Italy, the Etruscans ruled the region. Their alphabet looks Greek, but their language was totally different, non-Indo-European, with the distant relatives like Rhaetic and Lemnian. As Rome grew, Etruscans switched to Latin, and their unique language vanished by the 1st century CE. F is for Frankish. This was the language of the Franks, the Germanic people who ruled much of Gaul. Although Frankish is considered extinct, it did not simply disappear. In the north, it contributed to Old Low Franconian, which later developed into Old Dutch. In Gaul, Frankish strongly influenced the local Latin dialects, shaping Old French vocabulary and pronunciation. This influence explains why French contains Germanic-derived words such as war and garden. G is for Gothic. Gothic was spoken by the Visigoths and Ostrogoths, the Germanic peoples who carved out kingdoms after the fall of Rome. It's especially important because it gives us the earliest, largest text in any Germanic language, a Bible translation made in the 4th century. Gothic later disappeared from most of Europe, but a related form, known as Crimean Gothic, survived in the Crimean Peninsula until at least the 1500s. H is for Hittite. In ancient Anatolia, in what is now modern-day Turkey, the Hittites built one of the Bronze Age's great empires. Their language, Hittite, is the oldest recorded Indo-European language we know. After the empire collapsed around 1200 BCE, Hittite stopped being used in government and writing, and over time it vanished, while related Anatolian languages continued on. I is for Iberian. Before Rome took over Spain, the eastern coast was home to the Iberians. Their language was written down, and we can read the scripts, but we still don't fully understand the language itself. Iberian has no confirmed relatives, and after Roman rule spread Latin across the region, Iberian slowly disappeared. J is for Jurchen. In the 12th century, the Jurchen people ruled northern China under the Jin dynasty. They wrote their language using a script inspired by Chinese characters, though it worked very differently. Jurchen eventually fell out of use, and centuries later, a closely related language, Manchu, rose to prominence, leaving Jurchen behind. K is for Khwarezmian. Khwarezmian was spoken in the oasis regions of Central Asia, and what's now Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. It was an East Iranian language related to Sogdian. After the Mongol invasions and major population shifts, Turkic languages became dominant, and Khwarezmian faded out by around the 13th century. L is for Luwian. Luwian was a close cousin of Hittite, spoken across southern Anatolia. Unlike Hittite, it survived the Bronze Age collapse and was written in its own unique hieroglyphic system. Over time, as Greek culture and other Anatolian languages spread, Luwian speakers were absorbed and the language disappeared. M is for Minoan. This was the language of the palace civilization of ancient Crete. The Minoans wrote it in Linear A, a script that remains undeciphered today. When Mycenaean Greeks took control of Crete around 1450 BC, Greek replaced Minoan in administration, and the language gradually vanished. N is for Nubian. In medieval Sudan, the Christian kingdom of Makuria used Old Nubian as an official written language. It was written with a script based on the Coptic alphabet. When the kingdom declined and Arabic spread through the region, Old Nubian stopped being written, but it didn't fully disappear. It's the direct ancestor of modern Nubian, which is still spoken today. O is for Oscan. Oscan was spoken by several peoples in ancient southern Italy, including the Samnites, who were early rivals of Rome. As Rome expanded, Latin became the language of power, law, and citizenship. Oscan wasn't suddenly banned, but over time it was replaced by Latin as people shifted languages to fit into Roman society. P is for Pictish. The Picts live in what is now northern Scotland. Their language is poorly recorded, but most scholars believe it was a Celtic language, related to those of Britain. When the Picts merged politically with the Gaelic-speaking Scots in the 9th century, Pictish was gradually replaced by Gaelic. Q is for Qumran Hebrew. Qumran Hebrew refers to a distinct variety of Hebrew found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It reflects a specific scribal tradition used by the community living near Qumran, often associated with the Essenes, though that identification isn't certain. When that community disappeared, this particular written variety disappeared with it. R is for Raetic. High in the Alps of northern Italy and Austria, the Raetians spoke a language closely related to Etruscan. After Roman conquest in the late 1st century BCE, the region was Latinized. Raetian faded out as Latin spread, eventually leading to the Romance languages spoken there today. S is for Sumerian. Sumerian is the oldest written language in human history. It was spoken in the first cities of southern Mesopotamia. Even after people stopped speaking it in daily life around 2000 BCE, scribes and priests kept using it for religion and scholarship for nearly 2,000 more years, before it finally fell silent. T is for Tocharian. Tocharian was an Indo-European language spoken in what's now Western China, far from Europe. Linguistically, it shares features with Western Indo-European languages rather than its Asian neighbors. It disappeared around the 9th century as Turkic peoples, including the Uyghurs, moved into the region. U is for Ubic. Ubic was spoken in the Caucasus and is famous for its huge consonant inventory, with around 80 distinct consonant sounds. After the Ubic people were exiled to the Ottoman Empire in the 19th century, the language rapidly declined. It officially died in 1992 with the death of its last fluent speaker, Tawfik Essench. V is for Venetic. Venetic was spoken in northeastern Italy before Roman expansion. It was an Indo-European language closely related to Latin. Rather than disappearing through force, Venetic gradually gave way to Latin as its speakers adopted Roman culture and citizenship. W is for Warrnambool. In southeastern Australia, the Gunditjmara people spoke a language often known as Dawudwurrung. Colonization, violence, and language bans led to its decline in the 19th and 20th centuries. Today, community-led efforts are working to revive and reclaim the language. X is for Xiongnu. The Xiongnu were a powerful nomadic confederation that challenged ancient China. Unfortunately, we know almost nothing about their language, only a handful of words recorded in Chinese sources. Its language family cannot be confirmed, and it remains one of history's linguistic mysteries. Y is for Yana. Yana was spoken in Northern California and was unusual for having different speech forms for men and women. During the California genocide, the Yana people were nearly wiped out. The last known speaker, Ishi, died in 1916, and with him, the language fell silent. Z is for Jianzhong. Jianzhong was the language of an ancient kingdom in western Tibet, and is closely tied to the Bon religious tradition. After the Tibetan Empire absorbed the region in the 7th century, Tibetan gradually replaced Jianzhong. Only fragments survive today, making much of the language difficult to reconstruct. And there you have it, 26 extinct languages from A to Z. From the clay tablets of Akkadian to the mountains of Tibet, these languages remind us just how fragile history can be. When a language dies, we lose a unique way of seeing and describing the world. If you want to help keep languages alive, stay curious, keep exploring, and share what you learn. Thanks for watching, because every language matters, and I'll see you in the next video.